What's going on, boys? It's Salted Neos here. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Shuffle recently. The game was a pretty big part of my high school years, and so with the shutdown announced, I ended up coming back for nostalgia. While I was playing through again, I noticed a couple of oddities in the Pokemon graphics that seemed pretty out of place. Here's the first one that I ended up noticing. You think you can figure out what's wrong with the second encounter in this clip? If you answer that shiny Genesect seems to have no animations and in general just looks like the icon the player would normally have when you use it in battle, you're correct! Now, while not all Pokemon in this game have special animations while being faced as an opponent, the weird thing about this one in particular is shiny Genesect was actually the only Genesect in the game that Shuffle was built off of, Pokemon Battle Troze. In fact, in that game, as you can see here, shiny Genesect actually had one of these graphics, and the regular Genesect uses a mirrored recolored version of it. If you're anything like myself, you're probably asking, why didn't they just reuse the shiny graphic? Well, it seems like they just forgot it. If you're wondering how they managed to do that, I'm honestly not sure myself, but I can prove that this is the case. We can take a look in the game's files to see what I mean here. More specifically, the file FD129AE2. Which I'll just call the Pokemon data file from here on because that name's a mouthful. This file does a little more than just assign graphics. As the name I gave it implies, this file determines everything about each Pokemon in the game. Their name, their attack power, their skill, type, and of course, the assigned graphics. I won't go through the entire file or anything here, but if we open it up in a hex editor, here's where the entries for the Genesect start. They're separated by that red vertical line, and that crossed out bit is from the previous Pokemon, so we can just ignore it. They obviously don't look identical, even if we laid them out in a way that we can compare the data, but the important part here is that 947B CC9B near the end of the first entry. These characters seem like gibberish at first glance, but if we reverse the order the pairs are in, we get 9B CC 7B94, which is the name of Genesect's subfile in the Special Enemy Graphics folder. This is what makes Genesect use its special animations when we fight it. Now, if we go where this would be for shiny Genesect, you'll notice it's just a bunch of zeros, it's blank, which is why we don't get one for shiny Genesect. If we take a look in the folder that Genesect file comes from though, extract the files and take a look at the images there, we find all the used special enemy graphics, of course. We find a few for Pokemon who were never able to be faced as an opponent, such as Mega Latios, Mega Latios, and Mega Diancie. A few shiny Megas that never got competition events, such as Shiny Gengar and Shiny Charizard Y. But we also find an updated version of the shiny Genesect graphic, labeled as 65BC352E. Now what I mean by updated is, Pokemon Shuffle has some extra lighting effects on its icons and graphics. So if we compare the version from Battle Troze to the version that's used in Shuffle's files, we can see some extra lighting effects are added. Now the fact that they updated the graphic at all implies they intended to use it. They didn't put the reference in shiny Genesect's entry when the graphic was completed, and then they just forgot about it. Luckily, thanks to a recent breakthrough in modding this game, I can show you what happens if we correct it ourselves. All we need to change is putting this file's name in the same format as regular Genesect at the end of the string of characters that's already there. So 2E35BC65. Recompile the files into the format the game can read, and good as new. The other two typos both affect the same Pokemon actually, so for the second and final round of Spot the Error, can you spot the difference between these two Vivillon? For those of you who guessed the pattern on one of them is wrong, you're incorrect. The patterns are different, however this is not the answer that I'm looking for. If you answered the lighting effect is missing on Meadow Pattern Vivillon, or that one of the Vivillon randomly has its sprite positioned slightly higher up than the other, you're correct! This error is a little weird because they actually fixed it on the mobile version of this game, but never bothered to fix it on 3DS. If we look at Vivillon's entry in the files, we see this. Just like last time, we can ignore the crossed out bit. I've already highlighted the problem here. What I've highlighted here are the references to the two versions of Vivillon sprite that the game uses. One for when it's displayed small, and one for when it's displayed larger. Both of these point to the wrong files. This is actually that string from before the part that tells the game if a Pokemon has special enemy graphics, and it happens to be formatted the same way as that too. The two sets of 8 characters, which when the pairs are reversed give you the file names that they point to. Vivillon, along with many other Pokemon who have alternate forms in the main series, have some placeholder icons for their alternate forms which were never added. Usually, these files use this sprite here, which is an image of Bulbasaur's icon from the original Pokemon Trozei, with some Japanese text censoring its ugly-ass sprite. But for some reason, one of Vivillon's files has its Battle Trozei icon in both the big and small sprite folders. It seems like whoever did this part of the data file found the Battle Trozei version of Vivillon sprites, and they used those instead of the updated Shuffle sprites. If we replace the highlighted bit from before with 86CD, CEAE, and 109S, B6E5, recompile and check out Vivillon, here's what we get. Now, despite these fixes being really easy for Genius and already to pull off, and the fact that I'd love to see them before the game goes offline, especially for mobile in terms of Shiny Genesect, because that game's not even going offline. Of course, I don't actually expect them to address any of this, because they've since long moved on to Cafe Mix and Remix. Shuffle on 3DS is approaching end of life, because the eShop is closing down and they can't make any more money off of it. But if somebody of ingenious sonority sees this video in time, the remaining players of this game would really appreciate this 5-minute to address fix. It'd be a great final thank you to the player base. In any case, huge thanks to the original data mining team for Pokemon Shuffle, who made the tools which allowed me to dig through the game's files in the first place to find the cause of these mistakes. And thanks to anyone who sat through me rambling and nerding out over a nearly 9-year-old free-to-play game. Have a good rest of your day.